Hokage Multiverse. Time Traveler rewrites ninja history for immortality. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 1. Parallel Ninja World. Giving you the reincarnation eye at the beginning. The first year of Konoha. On the Hokage Rock, Xia You looked at the Konoha village, being built below, and couldn't help but be stunned. There is no doubt that I have indeed traveled through time. And what you travel through is not an ordinary Hokage world, but a space-time matrix composed of 7 parallel Hokage worlds. Every Hokage world is the same as normal time and space, only the time nodes are different. The main mission released by the system is, choose a force in each time and space to unify the ninja world and ensure that there will be no division within 20 years after unification. After completing the main mission, the host himself can become an immortal immediately and live forever. Good news, I have a system, and it seems to be rewarding. Bad news, the main tasks of the system are not easy to complete and are difficult to complete. This is the Hokage world. Planetary devastation is here at every turn, a world of high martial arts where tailed beasts wash the surface of the earth. A few minutes ago, I was just an ordinary modern goods student. Why should I dominate the Hokage world? Moreover, one force has to be chosen to complete the unification, and the unification will last for 20 years. Not to mention there are 7 Hokage worlds. Even if Xia You is familiar with the entire Hokage history, this level of difficulty is still at max level. Fortunately, the system also provides certain assistance. 1. You can travel to any time and space at will, with 10 opportunities to travel every day, and there is no limit to the length of stay. 2. After binding a force, you can get a newbie gift package. 3. After completing the unification of a world, you can get a system reward and unlock new system capabilities. Xia You secretly thought that with the help of these systems, he might not be unable to give it a try. After all, the final reward of the system is really tempting. Become an immortal immediately and live forever. You have to fight for it no matter what. Let's take a look at the novice gift package first. Xia You chose to bind Konoha Ninja Village on the system panel in his mind and received the newbie gift pack. Why choose Konoha? Of course it is to reduce the difficulty. Although Xia You doesn't like Konoha very much, to be precise, he doesn't like some people in Konoha. But looking at the entire history of the ninja world, no matter which era, Konoha has the best comprehensive strength and is the best option to complete the unification of the ninja world. Not to mention, there have been 2 reincarnations of Asura and Indra. Are the other ninja villages and forces going to fight with Konoha for their leadership? Xia You had no reason to ignore the simple mode and insist on choosing the hell mode. He was not a masochist, and his primary goal was to complete the main mission. Ding, the novice gift package has been opened. Congratulations, you got a pair of reincarnation eyes. Automatically replaced. Congratulations, you have received a ninja tool, Chienkuen bag. Congratulations, you have obtained 3 modern physical exchange coupons. Xia You was overjoyed and quickly took out his phone and took a look at his eyes. A pair of corrugated, samsara eyes has replaced his own eyes, and his dynamic vision ability has increased dozens of times in an instant, and he can even clearly count the compound eyes of flies flying in the distance. It took a while for Xia You to reluctantly lower his voice and adapt to the terrifying dynamic vision brought by his new pupils. In addition, Xia You found that he could not use the other abilities of the reincarnation eye. The reason is that I don't have chakra in my body, and I don't know how to refine chakra. Although I can exert the power of reincarnation eye now. But just relying on these eyes is enough to intimidate and convince many people. Otherwise, as an ordinary person, just contacting Senju Hashirama and other ninja masters would be a very dangerous thing. Very good. The system is still very powerful, and the novice gift pack is also very good. Let's go. First, go meet the god of ninja, Senju Hashirama of this era. Xia You stood up and looked at where the Hokage building was. It stands to reason. This era is actually the best time to complete the unification of the ninja world. The major ninja villages have just been established, and Konoha's side has almost absolute crushing power. Senju Hashirama plus Uchiha Madara alone is enough to sweep the entire ninja world. Suisata Buddha, 2 people destroyed the 4 kingdoms, is not just a joke. But precisely because of this, the difficulty lies with Hashirama and Madara. The stronger the person, the stronger their heart and will are. It is not an easy task to persuade them to change their beliefs and paths. Not everyone is as easy to convince as Nagato. If you are not careful, after the talks collapse, you may have to fight Susanna Daibutsu alone. Time and space. First Hokage. Time. The first year of Konoha. Unified progress. 30%. Outside the Hokage building, Senju Hashirama, who had just gotten off work, pushed open the door with excitement on his face. Senju Tobarama's roar immediately came from inside the house. Brother, where are you going? Forehead. Aren't you going to gamble again? Don't forget your current status. There are still so many official duties waiting for you to handle. No. Could it be that you're looking for that guy from Madara? Tobarama, how did you know? Humph. Only by going to find that guy will you be so happy, brother. Tobarama folded his hands and snorted dissatisfied. Ha, Madara asked me to meet at the Nenga shrine of the Uchiha clan. It must be for something important. Hashirama said with a naive smile while rubbing his head. Nenga shrine? That guy Madara has become more and more withdrawn recently, and I don't know what he is planning. Brother, please pay attention to me. Don't be fooled by him again. Tobarama knew that he couldn't stop his eldest brother from finding his old sweetheart, so he could only keep yelling. Fortunately, the eldest brother has already assumed the position of first Hokage, so Madara should not be able to make too big a fuss. Okay. I'm leaving first. Tell Mito for me and I won't go back tonight. Tobarama's face was dark and speechless. But Hashirama just turned around. I saw a figure appear out of thin air across the corridor. It's not the Flying Thunder God, it's more secretive and more sudden than the Flying Thunder God. There is no warning, no chakra fluctuation. Let Zhu Jian be startled. The other party has short hair and a white shirt, and his clothing style is incompatible with the ninja world. The most important thing is that the opponent's pair of deep rippled eyes are very much like the reincarnation eye, which is rumored to represent the highest pupil technique. Hashirama tensed up instantly, but still asked calmly, Who are you? First Hokage Senju, do you have time to chat? Xia You asked. His judgment was indeed correct. Hashirama is the kind of person who is extremely powerful but very restrained in using force. Otherwise, in the subsequent 5 shadows meeting, it would not be him kowtowing to others, but the other 4 shadows kowtowing to him. This kind of person is also the best to contact for the first time. If it were Madara, when encountering such a dangerous existence of unknown origin, there is a high probability that Susanna would be opened instantly and slashed first. Only those who can take the Susanna sword are qualified to negotiate with him. Brother? What happened? Tobarama flashed out, and when he saw Xia You, he was shocked and immediately drew his katana. Who are you? Tobarama, stop. Brother! Hashirama shouted loudly, showing off his domineering attitude. Vacate the room. I want to have a chat with this gentleman. You can guard it outside. Tobarama agreed with a pursed lips, not daring to refute his serious brother. Episode 2. Your Odo was fucked to death. A minute later, in the Hokage office. Xia You and Senju sat looking at each other. Outside the door, Tobarama, like a resentful woman, was eavesdropping with her ears pricked up. Hashirama naturally noticed Tobarama's rashness, so he had no choice but to take the lead and said helplessly, Do you need soundproofing? Need not. Xia, you had no intention of hiding it, and it didn't matter whether Tobarama eavesdropped or not. As long as he can convince Hashirama himself, can Tobarama still ride on his elder brother's head? Then what do you want to talk about? Xia You paused and began to explain according to what he had in mind. Talk about the future of the entire ninja world. Oh! 1 question per person, it seems more fair. If you don't force it, you can refuse to answer. Xia You suggested on his own initiative. For people like Hashirama, sincerity is often better than deception. Hashirama also relaxed a little, and he was more willing to communicate with a reasonable person. You first. Hashirama hesitated slightly, but asked the question he was most concerned about first. Your eyes. It's the reincarnation eye. Xia You admitted frankly. It is naturally best to use these eyes to show off, so as to add a little weight to the negotiation. The legendary eyes of Sage of 6 Paths, the most noble of the 3 pupil arts, actually exist. It seems that the legend is not a fairy tale. Your Excellency and Sage of 6 Paths. I know him, but I'm not familiar with him. Are you not familiar with the old man who likes to give gifts? Anyone who is a Hokage fan knows him. But these words sounded scary to Hashirama. This person actually knows Sage of 6 Paths. He knows the forefather of the ninja sect. Could it be that he has lived from the legendary era to now? How can this be? But this pair of reincarnation eyes doesn't look fake. Who is your Excellency? He is an immortal who does not belong to this era. Xia, you showed off his cards. In a sense, he can be regarded as an immortal, a preparatory immortal, who is on the main mission of becoming an immortal. Hashirama was startled again. Although I didn't believe it completely in my heart, the shock was indeed not light. I have begun to think about how to confirm the other party's identity without offending the other party. It's my turn. Excuse me, Your Excellency. Aren't you in a hurry to see your gay friend? You mean Madara? No hurry, he will wait for me. Hashirama said confidently, patting his chest. He was very confident in his relationship with Madara. Xia You smiled faintly, stopped teasing, and went straight to the point. First, Hokage Senju, what kind of world do you want to create? Senju Hashirama's breath changed, his whole person became serious, and he responded very solemnly. I want to build a peaceful world where children don't have to go to war. Achieved through the village system of your so-called ninja family alliance? Yes! Konoha Village, jointly founded by Uchiha and Senju, has been recognized by more and more people. Earth Country has given birth to Iwagakure Village, and the leader calls himself Tsuchikage. Other countries are also following suit. After such a village system is gradually improved, it will definitely replace the chaos of the Warring States period. At least the ninjas no longer need to be attached to wealthy families, and there will no longer be endless wars. Hashirama personally experienced the darkness of the Warring States period. Even the most powerful ninja clan like the Senju clan could not survive alone. Only 2 of Senju Buddha's 5 sons died. During the Warring States period, the average life expectancy was less than 30 years old. Children who could lift a sword were forced to go to the battlefield. Most children were lucky to live beyond 10 years old. It is precisely because Hashirama knew the cruelty of the Warring States period that he worked hard to end it. He has always been a doer, not a dreamer. Indeed, in his own way, he ended the Warring States period and opened up a new era of ninja village. Then how do you ensure that this ninja village system is correct? Will there be a larger-scale war between villages in the future? I can't guarantee the future. But at this stage, this system is indeed effective and can indeed end the chaotic Warring States period. And I am also exploring ways to restrict the major ninja villages in the future. Hashirama responded very sincerely. There was also a little more joy in his heart. This was exactly the problem he had been thinking about and planned to share and discuss with others. Tailed beast. I have considered it, but I haven't come into contact with all the tailed beasts yet. The village is still in the construction stage, and I plan to come into contact with various tailed beasts after it stabilizes in a few years. Although Hashirama was addicted to gambling, drinking, and getting drunk, he also really thought about the future of the village. Last question. Is it the village you want to protect? Or your relatives? Of course. Hashirama is stuck. This answer was blurted out more than a year ago, but now he is a little hesitant. Don't rush to answer, let's hear about the future of Konoha first. In the 17th year of Konoha, the first ninja war broke out. In the 37th year of Konoha, the second ninja war broke out. In the 45th year of Konoha, the third ninja war broke out. In the year 68 of Konoha, the fourth ninja war broke out. In just less than 70 years, there have been 4 ninja wars. The intensity and casualties of each ninja war were no less cruel than those in the Warring States period. Is this what you call the peace maintained by the ninja village system? Hashirama was stunned. Xia Yu's words were like a heavy hammer hitting his heart. He does speculate that the future won't be too quiet. It is the instinct of human nature to compete for resources and pursue power, but he never thought that the war situation would be so tragic. In just a few decades, 4 wars that affected the whole world broke out. Could it be that the other party is deceiving me? Or can the legendary reincarnation eye really see the future? Wait a minute. Are these things you said true? Are they all going to happen in the future? Can you predict the future? Do you believe it? I don't want to believe it. Hashirama is very sure that as long as he is still alive, he will try his best to prevent the outbreak of the Ninja World War. Logically speaking, shouldn't wars break out so frequently? Unless... Xia You saw Hashirama's doubts and said frankly, "You're right. You died in the 16th year of Konoha. Just the year after your death, the first ninja war suddenly broke out. Impossible." The door was suddenly pushed open, and Senju Tobirama, who had been eavesdropping for a long time, finally couldn't bear it anymore. He didn't believe that his eldest brother would die so early. No one in the entire ninja world could beat Hashirama. He wants to expose this liar's lies. "Brother, don't believe his lies." Tobirama. Hashirama yelled angrily and apologized for Tobirama's rude behavior. "Brother, Xia You didn't take this to heart, but continued to ask, "Senju Tobirama, do you want to know how you died?" You were surrounded and beaten to death by several Kumo ninjas." "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You damn guy, don't even think of deceiving me. I'm not as easy to deceive as my elder brother." Tobirama was furious and very excited. "I don't accept this way of death very much." "Just kidding. I am a master of forbidden arts, with Flying Thunder God, Earth Reincarnation, Tandem Paper Bombs, multiple Shadow Clones, a bunch of Sea Release, etc. How could I be surrounded by a few Cloud Ninjas?" "Wait, Kumo Ninja is a ninja from that family again? Never heard of it." It must be made up. It must be made up. However, compared to Tobirama, Hashirama on the side was even more furious. The overwhelming murderous intention overflowed from his body, and the almost solid pressure of chakra directly crushed the wooden floor. As one of the ancestral broke on in the Hokage world, Hashirama's care for Tobirama is no worse than Madara's care for Izuna. Now that he heard that his dear Odaru had been fucked to death, of course he couldn't remain calm. Sir, can you make it clearer? I can't explain it in a few sentences, so I'll just take you to see it. Go take a look. You'll know soon. Xia You just finished speaking. Call out. In the Hokage office, Xia You and first Hokage Senju Hashirama disappeared instantly without a trace. This is also one of Xia Yu's system abilities. You can carry the leader of the bound force with you to other parallel worlds and be forcibly repatriated after 1 hour. I just happened to take Hashirama to see how his dear Odo was fucked by Yonin. Episode 3. The heinous Tobirama will never die from the Kumo ninja. Time and space. Second Hokage. Time. Konoha 17 years. Unified progress. 18%. Hashirama only felt his body sway, and he disappeared into Hokage's office and appeared in a dense forest. Flying Thunder God? No, it should be another more powerful time and space ninjutsu. The Flying Thunder God cannot remove himself out of thin air. Is it the power of this gentleman's reincarnation eye? As for whether it might be genjutsu, Hashirama is conceited, and he still has the ability to distinguish genjutsu. Madara's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan couldn't let him sink for a moment. If this was really a genjutsu that was several times stronger than Madara, then he would have no choice but to admit it. Here it is. The world 17 years later, within the scope of Land of Thunder. The cloud-hidden village, just mentioned, is the ninja village subsequently established by the Land of Thunder? Right. Hashirama was greatly shocked. He was actually brought to the future world 17 years later? Is this gentleman really a god comparable to Sage of Six Paths? After all, he was also the god of ninja, so Senju Hashirama quickly calmed down. After all, he has not forgotten his main purpose, which is to find out how Tobirama died. Hashirama closed his eyes and took a moment to feel. He instantly locked onto the chakra aura in Tobirama in the distance. Then, due to his eagerness to save his brother, he immediately dodged and jumped over there. Xia You shook his head. These Brokon are really difficult to take care of. Once you hear that Odaru is in danger, the whole world will be broken for you. No way. How could Xia You, who was still an ordinary person, keep up with Hashirama's speed, so he had to activate World Teleport, again. Hundreds of meters away. As soon as Zhu Jian settled on a dense tree branch, Xia You teleported to his side and motioned him to hide quietly first. Hashirama did as he was told and looked towards the grass in the distance. At this moment, Universe 2, second Hokage Senju Tobirama, is discussing escape strategies with the members of the elite guard team gathered together. Is that really Tobirama? He is much older. Chakra is not as good as before. Is this chakra aura injured? And those two people, are they Monkey and Danzo? There is also an Uchiha member? They all have good auras and look much more mature and reliable. Tobirama has trained a group of good disciples. Hashirama recognized Sarutobi and the others at a glance, and secretly marveled at their changes. But I am also happy for the growth of Sarutobi, Hiruzen, and the others. Sir, who are Tobirama and the others? Hashirama turned to ask, very confused about the current situation. After all, this is likely to be the world many years from now, and he has no understanding of the current situation. Xia You also briefly explained. That is, the 17th year of Konoha, during the First Ninja War. Second Raikage took advantage of Hashirama's death and attacked Konoha, but was repelled by Second Hokage Tobirama and Konoha's troops. Second Raikage saw that the situation was not right and prepared to negotiate a peace. As a result, the Jinjiao and Silvergio brothers below came out to object, but second-generation Lei refused to accept it and still decided to negotiate a peace and alliance. As a result, he was assassinated by Jinjiao Injiao at the peace conference. The two also severely injured Senju Tobirama in a sneak attack and continued to lead the elite troops to hunt down Tobirama, Sarutobi, and others. Seriously injured, Tobirama was unable to evacuate with all 6 of his guards, so he chose to stay as a bait and test his subordinates by sacrificing the bait to death. Although Danzo had the idea of volunteering to be the bait, he was too timid to speak out at the critical moment. At this time, Hiruzen stepped forward and was willing to take the bait. Tobirama applauded Hiruzen's actions and appointed Hiruzen to become the next generation of Hokage. In the end, he died heroically while protecting Hiruzen and others. Hashirama looked at everything happening below and sighed secretly. To test your subordinates at this time seems like something Tobirama would do. But he has already decided to let Monkey be the next Hokage, right? This test is just to make his teammates more convinced of Monkey. And Danzo, this kid, his hands are trembling. Although he is impulsive, he is still afraid of death. Yes, this is the instinct of human nature. Death is not so easy to defeat. Everything Madara and Tobirama and I have done is to prevent batch after batch of children from facing such a cruel choice of death on the battlefield. Monkey has really grown into a brave ninja. I think he will definitely become an excellent Hokage. At this, Xia You sneered secretly. Wait until the next time you see this excellent Monkey and his bunch of shit-like consultants and staff. In just 20 or 30 years, they brought disaster to the entire Senju clan. You will know what excellence means. But there is one thing to say, at least Sarutobi, Danzo, and others during this period can be called excellent. The merits cannot offset the sins committed. And the crimes they committed in the second half of their lives cannot cover up their contribution to the village at this moment. Soon, the 6 Sarutobi left. Only Senju Tobirama was left alone, and he began to lay traps and act as bait, preparing to delay the pursuing troops of Jin Jiao in Jiao. He's in very bad shape right now. Most of the chakra was consumed, and the 5 internal organs were displaced. Just now it was all supported by willpower, and the Hokage's majesty was maintained in front of Sarutobi and others. I can only blame him and Second Raikage for being careless. Second Raikage did not expect that his subordinates would dare to stab him in the back, and he did not expect that Raikage would be stabbed in the back by his subordinates. This turned the peace conference into a trap. As for the sneak attack, everything is reasonable. 6 Paths Madara can still get his heart ripped out by Black Zetsu. Although he was seriously injured, and although he was left behind to serve as bait, Tobirama was not going to give in easily. Since he was a dignified second Hokage, he had to at least severely damage Kumogakure's pursuit force and kill at least one of the golden horns and silver horns to ensure that Sarutobi and the others could return to Konoha alive. Hey, it would be great if eldest brother was still here. These clowns don't even have the courage to start a war. Tobirama sighed while continuing to set up traps. At the same time, looking at Tobirama's lonely figure on the tree branch, Hashirama felt extremely sad. He could not imagine that his arrogant brother would be so lonely and embarrassed at this moment. Is that Kumogakure's golden horn and silver horn strong? Why haven't I heard of it? Hashirama asked in a low voice. When Tobirama hacked Izuna to death, it was so violent, like a swish. It was done quickly. Xia You simply explained. They possess 6 Paths ninja tools and some 9 Tails chakra, and their strength is about the same as that of ordinary Kage. Normally, your brother can defeat them. Then why? It was probably a sneak attack. I was careless and didn't dodge. I see. Hashirama suddenly realized that a sneak attack or something was indeed abominable. But after a pause, he still added, Tobirama has really regressed. We can't let him study forbidden arts anymore. He must train and improve his fighting ability. At this time, swish, 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 Jin Jiao in Jiao led a group of Cloud Ninja elites into the battlefield. Seeing the enemy coming, Hashirama became anxious. With his strength, he can judge accurately. With Tobirama's current bad state, there is a high probability that he will not be the opponent of this Kumo ninja force. If you want to save Tobirama, you must take action. But can he take action himself? He seems to be in the future timeline 16 years later. Will his rash intervention cause any disaster? Zhu Jian turned to look at Xia You. The urgency in his eyes seemed to be seeking the consent of Xia You, the suspected immortal. Don't worry, wait a while before taking action. It just makes your proud brother suffer a little more. A living Tobirama is indeed worth more than a dead one. At least it can preserve the overall entity of Konoha to a greater extent, making it easier for the second Hokage world to complete the task of unifying the ninja world. And suffering more at this moment can also arouse Tobirama's anger even more, so that he can persuade him to unify the ninja world. This is the real purpose of Xia You coming to Jujian at this point in time. Episode 4. Tobirama, Evil Uchiha. Jin Jiao in Jiao led 18 Kumogakure elites to arrive. After seeing that Tobirama was alone, he couldn't help but laugh at him. Ginkaku, why are you the only one left in the second Hokage? Where are your fish guards? They won't abandon you, this Hokage, and run away, right? Tobirama stared at Ginkaku and the others indifferently without responding. In particular, the orange 6 Paths ninja tool, Amber Purifying Bottle, which is half a person's height and is carried behind Ginkaku's back, has a powerful sealing ability. As long as the holder responds, it will be sealed into the bottle. At the previous peace talks meeting, Golden Horn used that thing to plot against Second Raikage, causing him to respond inadvertently, and then was easily sucked into the tank, and was finally brutally killed by Golden Horn. In terms of strength, Second Raikage can stabilize the Golden Horn and Silver Horn, otherwise it would not be his turn to inherit the Raikage position. Head-on, Golden Horn and Jin Kokuzu may not be able to defeat Raikage. Then he despicably borrowed the Six Paths ninja tool for a sneak attack. Tobirama was also seriously injured by the Golden Horn sneak attack at the peace conference. Rao is so. It was already outrageous that he could lead 6 Saratobi and the others out of the hinterland of Yunin village unharmed. But I have to admit that those 6 Paths ninja tools are indeed weird, and without enough information, it is very easy to be killed at first sight. Therefore, when Tobirama retreated all the way, he tried his best to avoid close combat with the pursuing troops of Golden Horn and Silver Horn. It was all thanks to the large number of Shadow Clone and Earth ninjas that were detached to block and delay, that a large amount of chakra was consumed, and it was close to the limit. Seeing that Tobirama didn't answer, Jin Jiao also knew that the other party was wary of the amber purifying vase and would not speak easily. So he said to Ginkaku, "Don't be stupid. This guy wants to hold us alone and buy time for the other Konoha ninjas to escape." Ginkaku continued to mock, "Ha ha ha, is this Hokage? It's so stupid to risk your own life to protect your subordinates." Sure enough, without Senju Hashirama, Konoha is a bunch of waste. Ginkaku, stop talking nonsense. I will deal with Senju Tobirama, he has been seriously injured. If you go after the other Konoha ninjas, you must not let them bring back the news that the peace talks have broken down. There's no rush, it's not too late to kill Senju Tobirama first and then pursue him. Kill Streak Raikage Hokage. This is a great opportunity to leave a name in the ninja world, and Ginkaku doesn't want to miss it. What's more, as long as Senju Tobirama is killed, the remaining Konoha ninjas will not be afraid. Okay, let's work together to kill this guy first. Jin Kaku agreed to Jin Kaku's proposal and immediately took action, waving the Panana fan towards Tobirama not far away. Panana fan, one of the 6 Paths ninja tools, it can ignore its own chakra properties and release weapons with 5 properties of fire, water, thunder, wind, and earth at once, but it requires a large amount of its own chakra. Scroll of Fire. Tens of meters long flame winds shot out and rushed towards Senju Tobirama. Water Style, Water Barrier. Tobirama formed a seal and used the technique to spit out waterfall-like water from his mouth forward, forming a circular rotating wall of water. The defense with almost no blind spots successfully blocked the Scroll of Fire released by the Golden Horn. Golden Horn continued to increase its output and released an even more violent fire style. Tobirama's C release is also famous in the ninja world, but with his current chakra, how long can he sustain it? Sure enough, it only took a few seconds. The water barrier in Tobirama became smaller and smaller until it was completely submerged and engulfed by the flames. But Tobirama, who was inside it, exploded instantly and turned into a ball of white mist. No, it's Shadow Clone again. Jin Jiao and others suddenly noticed, but it was obviously too late. Tobirama's true form appeared behind everyone. Water Style, Water Breaking Wave. Ultra-high-pressure straight water jets were spat out from Tobirama's mouth, like sharp blades, with extremely high destructive power, directly sweeping horizontally across Yunin's people. This advanced water-style ninjutsu move can cut through the roots of the sacred tree, and is not something ordinary ninjas can resist. Everyone in Yunin evaded hastily. Jin Jiao jumped up immediately and escaped the disaster. Silver Horn used the 7-star sword to barely block it, but was also sent flying far away. However, the other Kumo ninja were not so lucky. There were still 9 ordinary jonin who could not react in time and were directly cut in half by Shwazambo. Nearly half of Kumogakure's pursuing troops suffered casualties in an instant, which can be described as heavy. Seeing this, Tobirama couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Could it be that he had overestimated these elite Kumogakure? Looking at their level, if he led Saratobi and the others to stay and fight to the death, they might not be able to turn defeat into victory. But Tobirama knew very well that he couldn't gamble. If the bet is successful, even if one's own side can counterattack and kill Kumogakure's pursuing troops, it will inevitably suffer heavy casualties. If the bet fails, then second Hokage and the next generation of Konoha's young backbone will all be killed in the Land of Thunder. No one came back alive to report the news. In that case, Konoha wouldn't even know that the peace negotiation failed, and would only think that they were missing or still visiting Cloud Hidden Village. It is even possible to be wiped out by Yunin's surprise attack without any preparation. No matter what, Tobirama couldn't take this risk. He couldn't let the Konoha village that his eldest brother handed over to him be destroyed by his own hands. Do not care. Keep up the good work. Maybe you can defeat these Kumo ninjas by yourself? Just be more careful with the 6 paths ninja tool of Golden Horn and Silver Horn. It's a pity that I don't have much chakra left, otherwise I would have just used a large-scale, water-style, big explosion water shockwave to drown all the enemies and eliminate most of the Kumo ninja except for the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn. But it's not a big problem, he also set up other traps. As Yunin, everyone dispersed. Dozens of detonating charms placed around Tobirama detonated one after another, and a large amount of smoke covered the entire battlefield, hindering the enemy's perception. Flying Thunder God technique. Activate. Tobirama drew his katana and moved quickly with the help of a handful of Flying Thunder God kunai fixed around him. Like a ghost on the battlefield. In just a few breaths, he had moved more than 10 times and easily hacked to death 7 Kumogakure Jonin. His Flying Thunder God technique is only the first version, and it is far less useful than 4th generation Minato's improved version, just like Flying Earth Reincarnation is only the first version. The difference between teleportation at short distances is not big, but moving people over long distances will consume a lot of chakra, which he simply cannot afford now. Otherwise, he would have teleported back to Konoha with the 6 Saratobi. Even if he could take 1 or 2 away, Tobirama wouldn't be able to do this. The palms and backs of his hands were all flesh. How could he, who inherited the will of fire, run away with only a few disciples? Seeing a seriously injured Senju Tobirama, he was still able to kill him. Jinjiao and Injiao were also anxious. These cloud ninjas they brought out were their only elite supporters. If they are all dead, how will they be able to rule Yunin village when they return? Golden Horn exploded, urging the Panana fan, with all its strength. Wings of Wind. Arc of Thunder. A large amount of wind swept away the surrounding smoke and dust, revealing Tobirama's figure. Immediately afterwards, a large-scale lightning-style power grid spread out from the Panana fan, covering dozens of meters around it, even including the remaining Kumo ninjas. Tobirama, who had just landed, never imagined that Golden Horn could be so cruel, launching a large-scale attack regardless of his teammates. He was also hit instantly by lightning style, and his whole body was paralyzed, making it difficult to dodge. See it? Jin Jiao was overjoyed and quickly threw out the golden rope, wrapped around his left arm, grazing Tobirama's arm in the distance. Princess Golden Rope, one of the 6 paths ninja tools. People who touch the golden rope will spit out the spirit of their commonly used words. Tobirama groaned secretly, and then spit out a string of translucent mantras Yenling from his mouth. In the distance, Silver Horn also relied on the 6 paths bloodline and strong physique to break free from the lightning-style paralysis first, and threw the 7-star sword in his hand with all his strength. The 7-star sword did not hit Tobirama, but instead cut off the word spirit, spit out by Tobirama. Ha ha ha. Senju Tobirama, you're dead. Include it. Silver Horn laughed wildly, activated another 6 paths ninja tool, Red Gourd, he was holding, and quickly inhaled the severed word spirit. At the same time, Tobirama's mantra was also printed on the 7-star sword, stuck on the ground in the distance. Uchiha. Injiao looked at the 7-star sword and couldn't help but feel curious. Strangeness. Your second Hokage, the younger brother of Senju Hashirama. His most common catchphrase is not Big Brother, but Uchiha. How much do you love Uchiha? Tobirama's face turned black and he felt humiliated like never before. Episode 5. Brother, you are not dead. At this moment, at the edge of the battlefield, Xia You and Zhu Jian were also watching the whole battle. Seeing Tobirama being hit by the strange 6 paths ninja tool, Hashirama was also a little anxious. Sir, what are the specific effects of those 6 paths ninja tools? Was Tobirama defeated by these ninja tools? Apparently, it was also the first time for Hashirama to witness the 6 paths ninja tool in actual combat. When he was alive in the past, Yunin village would not dare to let go of a single fart, let alone use these toys against him. Back then, the entire Yunin village was dispatched, but they couldn't take down 9 tails and suffered heavy casualties. And Hashirama can capture 9-tailed beasts alive by himself, and even a fool can understand the difference. But in this world number 2, once Hashirama dies, the lawless Golden Horn and Silver Horn are naturally fearless, and no one dares to touch them. Seeing this, Xia You also gave a brief introduction. 6 paths ninja tools, there are 5 pieces in total. Amber Pure Bottle, the only one that says, if you dare to answer the call, you will be sucked in and sealed. Banana Fan. The next level, the holder can perform 5 escape attacks at will. Golden Rope. 7-star sword. Red Gourd. The 3 are a set. The former can make people spit out the mantra when touched, the middle one can cut off and reveal the mantra, and the latter can contain the mantra. Once the red gourd contains the target's speech spirit, it will be very dangerous. When the target speaks keywords or does not speak for a long time, or speaks words with similar pronunciation to the keywords, they will be sucked into the gourd. After hearing this, Hashirama couldn't help but be a little surprised. He didn't expect this 6 Paths ninja tool to be so wonderful. If you don't know this information, it will be very dangerous for any ninja to confront you. Before their strength exceeds a certain level, intelligence warfare is extremely important to ninjas. Even Hashirama himself might be sucked in by that amber purifying bottle, unexpectedly. Of course, Hashirama didn't think that he could seal himself with just a ninja tool. But for Tobirama, the current situation is very bad. Damn Kumo Ninja Beast. Fuck Uchiha. Everyone knows that they don't like the evil Uchiha clan. Well, except for Uchiha Izuna and Kagami. How dare this beast still have fun and laugh at himself? Damn it. While he was furious, Tobirama was also anxious. He didn't know the specific effects of the opponent's 6 Paths ninja tool. Now that his mantra word spirit was adopted by the opponent, he didn't know what kind of blow he would suffer. If you delay any longer, you may lose immediately. The battle must end immediately. Call out. Ginkaku, who was feeling proud, noticed that Tobirama suddenly disappeared in the distance. Did you activate that slippery, flying thunder god technique again? Where did it dodge this time? Snort. No matter where he dodges, he can't escape even though he has been included in the word spirit. Even if you don't speak, you will be sucked into the red gourd soon. But the next moment, Tobirama suddenly appeared behind him and stabbed Ginkaku directly in the heart with a katana. Pfft. How could you? Ginkaku turned his head with difficulty and looked at Tobirama, his eyes full of disbelief. Tobirama didn't respond, but swiftly drew his knife and retreated. As early as the previous retreat, he used Shadow Clone to deliberately get close to Silver Horn and quietly left the Flying Thunder God technique on him. I originally thought that when the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn were close to each other, I would teleport over and kill them both at once. But now that my spirit of speech has been taken away, I don't know how long I can hold on, so I can only use this ultimate move to kill a Silver Horn first. It was precisely because he left behind this technique that Tobirama dared to stay alone to fight against the Golden Horn troops. Silver Horn. Oh! You actually gave the Silver Horn to. Seeing Injiao being stabbed to his core, Jinjiao became furious. The tailed beast chakra inside his body rioted, and he quickly put on a dark red tailed beast coat, and 6 tails sprouted from his butt. Half-tailed beast transformation. In this state, Golden Horn almost lost most of his sanity and became violent and aggressive. At the same time, all the abilities of his body have increased significantly, his attack power has increased sharply, and he is almost immune to injury under the protection of the tailed beast's coat. He already has peak shadow level combat power. This is 9 Tails chakra? How can Golden Horn have the power of 9 Tails? Tobirama was shocked again. 9 Tails was clearly still sealed in Mrs. Mita's body. Where did this guy get the 9 Tails chakra? I heard a long time ago that Union Village organized a team to capture 9 Tails, but failed. Was it obtained at that time? Or 6 Tails form? This level is not low. In his heyday, he could kill this beast by just using the Flying Thunder God. But not anymore. He can use the remaining chakra to cast 1 or 2 ninjutsu at most, but it cannot consume this monster at all. Good thing. Tobirama did not fight an unprepared battle. Seeing Golden Horn transform into a half-tailed beast, Tobirama immediately launched the final trap. Whoosh whoosh dash. 3 coffins burst out of the ground in the center of the battlefield, and 3 ninjas from the reincarnation of the earth rushed out of the coffins, pounced directly on the Golden Horn, and detonated the detonating talismans on their bodies. Forbidden technique tandem paper bombs. It can continuously summon detonating symbols and trigger continuous fixed-point concentrated explosions. The attack range is huge, the duration is long, and the power is amazing. Boom. Huge explosions rose one after another, and the dazzling firelight illuminated a large area of the night sky. The explosion lasted for more than 2 minutes. The strong shock wave almost flattened the surrounding area for hundreds of meters. Is this the only power? Sure enough, it is still limited by chakra. Tobirama frowned and sighed. Tandem paper bombs cannot be copied out of thin air. In the final analysis, they still have to be supported by chakra. The tandem paper bombs in the fourth battle of the Dirty Earth can burst out with great power, which essentially benefits from the infinite chakra advantage of the Dirty Earth body. At this moment, Tobirama is subject to chakra depletion, so naturally he cannot exert the full power of tandem paper bombs. The explosion ended quickly, but the smoke was so thick that Tobirama couldn't estimate the enemy's situation. With this power alone, Tobirama couldn't guarantee that he would be able to kill the half-tailed beast Golden Horn. But he did his best. With his severely injured body and the few remaining chakras, he almost destroyed the entire Golden Horn force. His purpose has been achieved. I think Monkey and the others can escape back to Konoha safely. Roar! In the center of the battlefield, there was a roar. A large stream of chakra air spread out, blowing away all the smoke and revealing the golden horns of the half-tailed beast. Tandem paper bombs killed all the remaining Cloud Shinobi, but unfortunately failed to kill the Golden Horn. The latter was still roaring vigorously. As expected, I couldn't kill this beast. The damn-tailed beast Hagoromo's defense is so amazing. Tobirama cursed fiercely. If I had known earlier, I should have gone behind my brother's back and developed more forbidden techniques. It's a pity that big brother doesn't allow it. Hey, if the eldest brother is still here, everything will be fine. The other side. The tailed beast Golden Horn opened its big mouth and spat out the silver horn that had only one breath left. Just now, relying on his remaining sanity, he swallowed the seriously injured Injiao into his belly, barely saving Injiao's life. Otherwise, Injiao, who was pierced through the heart, would have been killed by the detonating talisman. Now, the tyrannical Golden Horn immediately targeted Tobirama. Brush. A tail instantly extended hundreds of meters and stabbed Tobirama at such a speed that it only took the blink of an eye. Tobirama activated Flying Thunder God again and teleported away. But just as he landed, 3 more tails stabbed him. Tobirama, whose chakra was completely exhausted, was no longer able to dodge. He had to barely block one tail stab with his katana, but the other 2 penetrated his left arm and lower abdomen respectively. Seeing Tobirama's defeat, Golden Horn became even more wanton and rampant, quickly retracted its tail and began to gather Tailed Beast Jade. Prepare to completely annihilate Senju Tobirama with one shot of Tailed Beast Jade. Cough. Tobirama spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling more embarrassed than ever before. It seemed that he could not escape this disaster. Unexpectedly, he would be defeated by these 2 mean beasts in the end. After death, if I met Izuna underground, I don't know how he would laugh at me. What a shame. Buzz, a fist-sized, tailed beast jade, condensed into shape and shot towards Tobirama at high speed. This tailed beast jade has not been charged for too long, nor has it condensed much yin and yang chakra, so its power is limited. But no matter how limited it is, this is the S-class ninjutsu with the most destructive power. It can still explode hundreds of meters around it with one shot. Even if Tobirama was in his prime state, it would be impossible for him to physically resist the tailed beast jade explosion. Not to mention the current state of almost paralysis. The winner will surely die. Tobirama. Before dying, Tobirama seemed to hear the call of his most familiar big brother and saw that familiar figure flashing in front of him. Is this the Marquis before death? Brother, I disappoint you. I can no longer lead the village. I believe that the monkeys and the others will inherit the will of fire and protect the village. Tobirama was sad and lonely, ready to die. But he suddenly discovered that the eldest brother Hashirama who appeared in front of him was not an illusion. Instead, he slapped away the tailed beast jade, flying towards him. Boom! The tailed beast jade flew out diagonally and exploded suddenly 1,000 meters away. The fiery and violent shock wave blew away a large number of trees, and the power was terrifying. Tobirama stared at the scene blankly, his mind already stuck. Isn't this an illusion? Didn't you dream? Really, big brother? Episode 6. I killed Madara? Real or fake? Tobirama, how are you? After Hashirama took the flying-tailed beast jade, he immediately turned to look at Tobirama and used medical ninjutsu to treat him. Feeling the powerful yang-style chakra used by Hashirama to heal ninjutsu, Tobirama was finally convinced that this was his elder brother, the living god of ninja, Senju Hashirama. Brother, it's really you. The longing in Tobirama's heart poured out like a flood. Most ninjas, like ordinary people, never cherish what they have. Only when they lose it do they feel extremely regretful. When his eldest brother was alive, he didn't feel much. Basically speaking, even the other 5 shadows dared to get angry on the spot. Even most of the time, first Hokage Senju Hashirama didn't manage the village's government affairs very much, and Tobirama almost did it all by himself. In the eyes of all outsiders, Tobirama is tougher, colder, and more domineering than Hashirama. But only Tobirama himself knows that he can only be a hardliner under the shadow of his elder brother's reputation. I really feel like my eldest brother has passed away. After he succeeded to the position of second Hokage, the pressure from inside and outside the village came like a tidal wave, and he truly realized his limits and limitations. For this reason, he can only act tougher. Tobirama's contribution to Konoha village is very high. When he was in charge of second Hokage, he established many institutions and organizations. Establish the Konoha police force to reduce instability in the village. Establish Umbu under the direct command of Hokage to strengthen centralization. The Konoha Ninja School was established and trained generations of talents for the village, etc. These all demonstrated his superb political skills, which were later imitated by ninja villages in other countries. They had a profound impact on the ninja world and almost laid the core framework of ninja villages for decades to come. But in essence, it is to solve internal and external troubles, and to make up for the instability caused by Konoha losing the big Buddha, Senju Hashirama. The effect is definitely there, and it is huge. But it is a pity that it still failed to prevent the outbreak of the First Ninja War. Especially Kumo Hidden Village, they are eager to know how many brushes Konoha still has after losing Senju Hashirama. Is he worthy of occupying the most fertile and convenient core land in the entire ninja world? The results speak for themselves. At the cost of the sudden death of a large number of Kumogakure elites, including the second Raikage, the second Hokage, the Golden Horn, and the Silver Horn, the war ended. But at this moment, due to the intervention of Xia You and Hashirama, this ending has been rewritten. At least Senju Tobirama can no longer die at the hands of Golden Horn and Silver Horn. The entire number 2 Hokage world will inevitably undergo huge changes as a result. Tobirama, it's me. Hashirama nodded heavily in affirmation. Looking at this much older brother, Hashirama was also full of emotion. Brother, are you not dead? But your body is obviously. Tobirama woke up and immediately wondered. He sealed Hashirama's body with his own hands and sent it to the moist bone forest for preservation. Why does Big Brother appear here? Could it be that he was resurrected by some kind of forbidden magic? Similar to my own Dirty Land reincarnation? But is this too realistic? This powerful chakra, this terrifying breath of life, this is simply a flawless resurrection. Moreover, he seems to be much younger. Is there such a heaven-defying forbidden technique in the entire ninja world? How come you don't know about it? The situation is a bit complicated. I am not the big brother you are familiar with, but I am indeed your big brother. Tobirama is getting more and more confused. Is the elder brother playing some kind of riddle with himself? How can he have such a brain? The two were talking. In the distance, the Golden Horn became more and more violent. He has almost completely lost his mind and cannot even recognize Senju Hashirama. He is only dominated by chakra, a collection of hatred, eager to destroy all targets. Even attempted to attack Senju Hashirama. Hashirama glanced at the half-tailed beast's golden horn, as if looking at an annoying fly. No nonsense either. Just clap your hands and activate Wood Style. Wood Style, the art of laughing Buddha. A big wooden hand poked out from the ground and instantly grasped the tailed beast's golden horn like a chicken. Roar! Golden Horn struggled wildly, resisted desperately, and exploded with a force that could collapse mountains and rubble. It's a pity that they can't shake the wooden hand at all. This is a power that even complete Susanoo can touch, far beyond what a half-blooded tailed beast's golden horn can touch. Wood Style's giant hand continued to shrink, and the huge force pressed the golden horn to keep roaring and wailing. In addition, Wood Style itself has a strong suppressive effect on the tailed beast chakra, not to mention it is just an imposter. Soon, all the tailed beast's chakra were forced back into Golden Horn's body by Wood Style. It directly broke Golden Horn's half-tailed beast transformation and restored his body and sanity. But Hashirama did not stop, but continued to exert force. Jin Jiao was not given the slightest chance to beg for mercy or defend himself. Bang! The Golden Horn, which lost the protection of the tailed beast's coat, was instantly crushed by wooden hands and turned into a ball of flesh. It was too dead to die. See this. Only then did Hashirama let go of Wood Style's giant hand and looked at Jin Jiao's body with an evil look on his face, not even the slightest bit naive. Whoever dares to take action against his Odaodu will die. Brother. Tobirama shrank his head, only he knew how terrifying it would be for his elder brother to be truly angry. The so-called God of Ninja cannot be won by saying a few nice words, but by fighting his way out through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Love and admiration for peace does not mean that Hashirama will show mercy to his enemies. The number of people Naruto and Sasuke killed in his lifetime was not enough for Hashirama to kill in one day during the Warring States period. What's more, this is Hashirama who has just ended the Warring States period, not the old Hashirama who has been sealed for more than 10 years. Fine. He wants to kill you. Death is not a pity. Hashirama restrained his murderous intent, looked back at Tobirama, and comforted him while treating him. His expression also returned to his usual friendly state. At this moment, Xia You also walked slowly from a distance. Brother, who is this person? Tobirama asked quickly. Xia You was a little curious about the strange clothing and not wearing any forehead protector. But with his eldest brother beside him, he became more courageous and had no fear at all. Who is this? Hashirama was stunned. Until now, he still didn't know what Xia Yu's name was. He had always addressed him as Mr. and Your Excellency. Xia You, just call me husband. Of course, you can also call me Immortal You. Hashirama was overjoyed. Is this gentleman showing off his cards? Sage of Six Paths? It is indeed a level 1 existence. At this point, Jujian was already convinced of Xia Yu's identity. After all, traveling through time and space is too shocking and completely beyond the scope of ninjutsu. Hashirama has no choice but to believe it. And Tobirama was even more shocked. Who is so arrogant that he dares to claim to be on par with the legendary Sage of Six Paths? But when he saw Xia Yu's reincarnation eye and his eldest brother Hashirama's attitude, no matter how much doubt he had, he could only suppress it. Brother, who are you and this gentleman? Hashirama looked at Xia You, who nodded to indicate that he could tell Tobirama the truth about world number 2. After all, if you want to complete the task of unifying the ninja world in the future, you will need the hard work of the second Hokage Tobirama. So Hashirama immediately briefly explained the current situation. Tobirama was completely stunned after hearing this. The big brother in front of me is not the one who died, but came from the first year of Konoha? Just to save myself? Are you sure that you will die at the hands of Golden Horn and Silver Horn? This series of shocks was too great, and I could barely accept it in the second half. After all, if Hashirama hadn't appeared, there was a high probability that he would really die here. But the first half was just too outrageous. The elder brother who traveled through time more than 10 years ago? What kind of ninjutsu is this? It's a miracle. But everything in front of him was so real that Tobirama had no choice but to believe it. At the same time, I was even more wary and vigilant towards Xia You, who claimed to be the Immortal You Dao, and of course, I was also a little grateful for the life-saving grace. Senju Hashirama, you don't have much time to stay in this world. If you have anything you want to ask, please talk to your brother quickly. Xia You prompted. Zhu Jian was startled and immediately became serious. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Since I saved Tobirama, I just took this opportunity to ask more about the future story. At least many mistakes can be avoided and Konoha's development will be more stable. Tobirama, can you tell me what happened these years? Tobirama did not hold back and immediately described the reasons and process of the outbreak of the First Ninja War. After confirming that his death was the direct cause of the outbreak of the war, Hashirama became even more anxious and quickly asked, No, even if I die, there will still be Madara. With him here, how can the other 4 countries dare to start a war? Tobirama was startled and couldn't help but hesitate. Tobirama, what happened to Madara? Could it be that he died before me? Tell me quickly. Tobirama had no choice but to bite the bullet and answer. The second year after the village was founded, Madara left Konoha alone. 10 years later, Madara captured 9 tails and attacked the village. Big brother, you fought with Madara and finally killed Madara in the Valley of the End. Hashirama was shocked. Episode 7, Tailed Beast Deterrence System. I killed Madara? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Madara and I are so good, we founded Konoha together, and he still thought of the name of the village. How could he leave, and how could he attack the village? Tobirama, what have you done? The elder brother's roar made Tobirama shrink his head again, but he couldn't show any weakness towards Uchiha. He could only retort forcefully, Brother, that's Madara's own choice. Who knows what that guy wants to do? And he left after a dispute with you, you should know best. Hashirama regained his senses, and he couldn't blame Tobirama no matter what. And I heard that Madara left the village because of a quarrel with him? What was the quarrel between me and him? It hasn't happened yet. Could it be when he asked me to go to Nanga Shrine? No. You must figure this out when you go back. Have a good chat with Madara and be sure to keep him. Tobirama, was Madara really killed by me? Yes, brother, you fought with him for 3 days and 3 nights, changing the landscape of a large area, and finally stabbed Madara to death from behind with a knife. I also sealed his body with my own hands. Hashirama was silent. Tobirama said it in such detail. There is a high probability that this is the real thing that will happen in the future. Will he actually kill Madara with his own hands? How can it be? Has your future self really changed? He clearly established the village to protect the people he valued. In the end, he killed someone he valued for the sake of the village? This moment. Zhu Jian became slightly confused for a rare moment and remembered the question Xia You had asked before. Is it the village you want to protect? Or your relatives? Brother? Tobirama's call made Hashirama wake up from his daze. It's nothing. It's just a little hard to accept. Hearing this, Tobirama didn't have much to say. He understood the relationship between his eldest brother and Madara best. This feeling of killing a close friend with your own hands is really terrible. If Hashirama also has Uchiha's bloodline, he might be able to open the Mangekyo Sharingan in one step. In fact, Hashirama of World Number 2 was indeed depressed for a long time after the Battle of the Valley of the End, and almost ignored government affairs. It was only the subsequent birth of his most beloved granddaughter, Tsunade, that barely diluted Hashirama's sadness. Okay, I will figure out Madara's matter after I go back. Tobirama, continue talking about your side of the matter. Why did the other major countries initiate this war? Tobirama frowned and said straight to the point, essentially, it's still about competing for resources. The Land of Fire occupies the richest and most superior land in the entire ninja world, so it is naturally highly coveted. Brother's death is only the direct cause. Provoking a fight, testing Konoha, and even carving up the entire Fire Country are the root causes of this war. However, if you were still here, brother, this war wouldn't be fought at all. Even if a fight breaks out, these two guys won't be able to show off their violence. Tobirama looked at the golden horn of minced flesh and the dying silver horn in the distance, his eyes filled with uncontrollable anger. He led Konoha and defeated the 3 coalition forces of Iwagakure, Kirigakure, and Kumogakure in this battle, winning the title of the most speedy ninja and forcing Kumogakure to negotiate peace. But in the end, we almost fell into the hands of these two beasts. How could we not be angry? Xia You imagined the scene in his mind, if Hashirama was present at the alliance meeting. That scene was probably like this. The golden horn and the silver horn just popped up. Hashirama yelled, "Where did the bad guy come from?" "Brother Raikage, sit down for a moment, I'll come as soon as I can." Raikage, Hashirama-sama, it's not too late to go after drinking this glass of wine. Hashirama, drink when you come back. In the blink of an eye. Hashirama, ha ha ha. Brother Raikage, you don't know that these two are so funny and can turn into a red fox with 6 tails. I have captured them so that you can play with them and entertain yourself in the future. Ha ha ha. When Raikage touched the wine glass on the table, the wine was very hot to his mouth. But he secretly felt guilty in his heart. It's so scary. He is worthy of being the god of ninja. But doesn't he really know that the golden horn and silver horn are from our village? There shouldn't be such a crazy person, right? Ha ha, just a joke. Hashirama himself knew very well that what Tobirama said was true. The fact that he was able to end the Warring States period was due to his unparalleled strength. After the establishment of Konoha, the ninja world was able to maintain peace for more than 10 years, which was also inseparable from its own force. But he knew better that he would die sooner or later. Peace is only short-lived after all, and you must find a way to replace yourself with peace. Where's the tailed beast? Tobirama. Did I use the tailed beasts to restrict me in the future? Tobirama gets angry when he talks about this. Hashirama, the eldest brother of World Number 2, actually wanted to give away the 8-tailed beasts he captured for free at the first 5 Kage conference. In the end, under Tobirama's strong opposition, he ended up selling 7-tailed beasts to the other 4 families, leaving the strongest 9 tails to Konoha. But the following facts proved that the tailed beast had no restricting effect at all. As soon as Hashirama died, the other 3 families started the war nonstop. Only the Sunagakure village family kept their heads down and pretended to be dead, focusing on studying how to use tailed beasts, and then gradually developed magnet style and fake sleeping technique, etc. After listening to Tobirama's description, Hashirama was stunned again. Did the tailed beast deterrent system also fail? Sir, is it wrong to distribute the tailed beasts? Hashirama turned to look at Xia You, remembering that the immortal had seen through his wish to distribute the tailed beasts from the beginning. Maybe this gentleman can give himself an answer? Xia You smiled lightly and didn't mind having a good chat about the tailed beast issue. Sealing the tailed beasts is not the optimal solution. but it is a good idea, but there's a problem with the operation. Why? Senju Tobarama, how do you judge the quality of a policy? Xia You turned to Senju Tobarama and asked. After all, asking Hashirama this kind of question is in vain. Tobarama paused and gave his answer. As long as the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, it is a good policy. This is also the conclusion he drew based on his actual governance. Creating, establishing, Konoha police force, etc. all have drawbacks. But as long as the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, this policy is necessary. As for the shortcomings, we can slowly make up for them through improvements in the future. If we are only afraid of the shortcomings, stand still and close ourselves off to the country, there will be no progress at all, and we will only be eliminated by the times. So what benefits does Konoha get from sealing off the tailed beasts? What are the disadvantages? I gained a lot of money. Anything else? Conveying Big Brother's concept of peace? Well, I'll keep this for now. Is there any more? Tobarama glanced at his eldest brother Hashirama beside him, not daring to say anything more. Xia You saw Tobarama's concerns, so he confessed for him. Let me tell you. Episode 8. Yes, I am the one taking the blame. Look beyond the surface. It's just the result. After the first 5 Kage talks, Konoha has it. 1. Through the large amount of money and land obtained from selling the 7-tailed beasts, Konoha has accumulated the most primitive development capital, without having to worry about the economic manipulation of the daimyo. 2. Jinchuriki, the most stable tailed beast sealed by its ally the Uzumaki clan, will almost never go berserk without external intervention. 3. Konoha has Uchiha Sharingan, who is naturally easy to control tailed beasts. He has an inherent advantage in suppressing his own tailed beasts and controlling tailed beasts in other villages. 4. A time bomb is planted for the other 5 villages. Every tailed beast riot will weaken each ninja village, thus strengthening Konoha from the side. Are there so many benefits? Hashirama was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that dividing the tailed beasts would have so many benefits to Konoha. Your brother has probably guessed all this, but it's just hard to tell you. Tobarama, you know all this? Hashirama turned to look at Tobarama, shocked again. Tobarama's eyes averted slightly, but he still nodded in agreement. The reason why he didn't completely oppose the Confederation of Tailed Beasts at the beginning was partly because of his elder brother's will, and on the other hand, he also saw these benefits, so he pushed forward the Confederation of Tailed Beasts. And as a master of forbidden arts, he is well aware of the level of sealing techniques in other ninja villages. It would be impossible to successfully utilize the power of the tailed beast in a short period of time, so he was relieved to entrust it. In fact, no one in the first ninja world used tailed beasts to fight. If it's broken, then wouldn't I become a fraudster who deliberately deceived the 5 shadows? Hashirama slumped, feeling a little uncomfortable. Tobarama also said with rare hardness, Brother, don't be naive. Do you think the other 4 shadows can't see these tricks? Do you think they are really convinced by your ideas? Then they still accept it? Brother, with your strength, how can they say no? Besides, you have already cowed out. If they don't give you face, how dare they start a war with you? Moreover, we are all the first generation of the ninja village that put an end to the war in the country. Although Hashirama's strength is beyond the standard, it does not mean that the other 4 Kages are useless. They are all from first generation, so how could they be convinced by Hashirama's few words? In the final analysis, they still believed that the benefits they could gain from dividing the tailed beasts outweighed the costs, so they agreed. Hashirama opened his mouth in a daze, feeling like he was the only fool in the world. Wait a minute, sir, since there are so many advantages, why will Ninja War break out several times in the future? Hashirama was naive, not stupid, and he quickly grasped the key point. Speaking of which, Xia You was also helpless. Dividing tailed beasts is not the optimal solution, but it is really good. The above 4 advantages alone are enough for Konoha to sit back and wait for victory. It's almost Tianhu's start. But Konoha after the 2nd generation cannot be described as weird. The Senju clan is wasted in the name of war. Sit and watch the entire Uzumaki clan be destroyed. Conniving Danzo to exterminate the clan Uchiha. The power of life and death is not delegated to the 4th generation Minato, and he is hostile to the new Jinchuriki, etc. If you just miss one thing, you may not be able to win 3 or 4 battles. However, Konoha stepped on all the pitfalls and disabled all his hands and feet, fearing that he would not die quickly enough. You hold 4, 2, 4, A4 and king in your hands and fight with the king, but you can still lose in the end. Xia, you couldn't think of anything. I can only praise you for being awesome plus. But these future contradictions and trends cannot be explained in a few words. After taking Hashirama and the others to see it with their own eyes later, it became clearer and more convincing. The reasons are very complicated, but it can mainly be attributed to the different levels of handling the disadvantages of dividing tailed beasts. Not only did Hashirama not hear this, but Tobirama didn't understand either. What are the main disadvantages of dividing tailed beasts? Xia You looked at Tobirama, who also answered decisively. The great power of the tailed beast itself is a drawback. Yes, to be precise, it can be divided into external and internal. It's not easy to control tailed beast attacks from outside, that is, other ninja villages. At least you have to have a perfect Jinchuriki. Let's not worry about it for the moment. The key is internal factors, namely, tailed beast riot. Is tailed beast riot difficult to deal with? Hashirama asked doubtfully. He has never captured a tailed beast yet, and he only has a vague idea of the power of a tailed beast. But judging from the golden horn that has just transformed into a tailed beast, it seems, probably, maybe, it is not a big threat? Tailed beasts themselves are not powerful. What is powerful is their unique, tailed beast jade. Except for 8 tails and 9 tails, the overall strength of other tailed beasts is really not strong. 4th generation Kazekage can suppress 1-tail Shikaku by himself, which shows that some special type Kage-level ninjas can defeat tailed beasts in a targeted manner. But the tailed beast has a perverted strategic ability, which is tailed beast jade. There is no problem in blasting an entire mountain with a normally charged tailed beast jade. Looking at the entire Hokage world, no ninja can resist this power at close range with more than 1 palm. Therefore, the scariest thing about tailed beasts is not riding them to cause destruction in enemy villages. Instead, he controls the tailed beast to quietly shoot a tailed beast jade towards your village from a few kilometers or dozens of kilometers away. In an instant, the whole village went crazy. It doesn't matter how many elites you have or how many trump cards you have ninjutsu. Under nuclear explosion, all living beings are equal. This is the real, strategic killer weapon. Why did Hashirama feel that 9 tails was dangerous after the Battle of the Valley of the End? It is obvious that his sage art senju can be held with one hand. Because he was not afraid of the physical power of 9 tails, but he saw that Madara's tailed beast Tama shot could hit the other side of the sea and explode a large area. This was what he was afraid of. He was afraid that 9 tails would also give Konoha a tailed beast jade. Therefore, when sealing the tailed beasts later, the Uzumaki clan's most stable sealing techniques were also used. Xia You pointed to the explosion area in the distance where the tailed beast jade had just been slapped away by Hashirama. The latter also suddenly understood. If such an explosion hits Konoha village unexpectedly, the entire village will cease to exist in an instant. Such power is indeed a great threat to the village. But after the tailed beasts are sealed, everyone has mastered this power, and maybe they can form a mutual deterrent. Hashirama got stuck mid-sentence, because this first ninja war was already slapping him in the face. Mutual threats can never prevent war, they can only delay the arrival of war and increase the casualties of war. Second Hokage must be aware of this, right? Hashirama looked at his second brother again. Tobirama, you know this, so why didn't you stop me in the first place? Brother, we have Uzumaki sealing techniques and Jinchuriki is very stable. Even if there is an unfortunate tailed beast riot, there are evil and Uchiha's Sharingan who can control the tailed beasts. The village is generally safe. Tobirama argued that he never concealed his fear of Uchiha. But it is clearer how powerful Sharingan is, especially when Madara tamed 9 tails into being as docile as a cat. Therefore, he overcame all objections and accepted Uchiha Kagami as his personal guard. On the one hand, there is the belief in the mirror, and he wants to use him to change the Uchiha clan and adjust the conflicts. On the other hand, he is also interested in the talent and ability of the mirror, hoping that he can assist Sarutobi well and set up an insurance for the tailed beast riot. It's a pity that no matter how good his arrangement is, he can't predict the changes in the future. But what about other ninja villages? They don't have these conditions. I know that it is precisely because they do not have advanced sealing techniques that it will be difficult to perfectly suppress the tailed beasts for a long time, so I agree to divide the tailed beasts. Why? In this way, every time a tailed beast riot occurs in their village, their strength will inevitably be greatly weakened, which is more conducive to the safety of Konoha. Tobirama, why are you so evil? Tobirama shut up and turned his head aggrievely, not wanting to argue about good and evil with his naive elder brother. Yes, the blame is mine. For the sake of the village, he had no choice but to be a bad guy. Episode 9. Use a sledgehammer to gently open your heart. Hashirama didn't criticize Tobirama too harshly. He also knew that Tobirama was doing it for the good of Konoha, and he only put the interests of his own village first. Sir, according to Tobirama, wouldn't it be more beneficial to Konoha than the disadvantages of dividing the tailed beasts? On the one hand, the division of tailed beasts allowed Konoha to gain considerable profits and advantages. On the other hand, the potential danger of tailed beast riots could greatly weaken other ninja villages. Then how could Konoha lose? Isn't this a safe win? At least from Tobirama's point of view, even if he was plotted against by the Kumogakure beast this time, Konoha would still win in the future. Monkeys and the others just need to stay steady without doing anything. The comprehensive strength of Konoha village will sooner or later be far superior to the other 4 villages. Even Tobirama looked at Xia You curiously, hoping to find out where his plan failed through the mouth of this immortal, who was suspected of being able to travel through time and space and predict the future. Xia You smiled slightly and asked Feijian again. Second generation project, if it were you, what would you do after discovering the shortcomings? Of course we have to find ways to solve the disadvantages. What will the other villages do after they discover that the tailed beasts are very strong, but the Jinchuriki are unstable and prone to riots? Find ways to improve sealing techniques, find ways to enhance Jinchuriki's adaptability, until you can completely control the tailed beast. But this is not something that can be done easily. It will take at least several decades of running in and development. Tobirama's judgment was correct. The villages had indeed worked hard for decades before they managed to cultivate Killer Bee, Goju Yagura, and Uzumaki Naruto. Even the last one has nothing to do with the cultivation of the village. It was born out of pure breeding, plus Yunin's guidance and the old man's cheating. Then you leave Konoha with a 9 tails that won't lose control at all, and a soft persimmon that can be easily suppressed even if it loses control. Do you think the village is too comfortable? Or do you think the enemy is too stupid and will just stand still? Xia Yu's question suddenly woke Tobirama up. An environment that is too comfortable will only make people lazy, leaving future generations with no experience in dealing with tailed beast riots. Especially when other companies are making continuous progress at the expense of huge casualties. As long as you stay where you are regressing. Not to mention that you are still regressing slowly. Actually, the tailed beast riot did bring a lot of casualties and trouble to the other 4 villages. Sunagakure village, needless to say, a one-tailed Shikaku drove several generations of Kazekage to madness and death. Kirigakure is similar. Several times Jinchuriki went berserk and killed a large number of Kirigakure elites. Iwakage village, there is an old turtle called Inoki. Although he can suppress the tailed beasts, he also forced several Jinchuriki to leave the village one after another. Not to mention, Cloud Hidden Village. Without the overwhelming strength of Third Raikage, 8 tails would have destroyed the village countless times. But during these decades, the other villages harvested a lot of wool from the tailed beasts. Sunagakure village developed magnet style and fake sleep technique by researching one tail, etc. Kirigakure developed the bubble seal and cultivated the perfect Jinchuriki. Kumogakure also developed the iron armor seal and cultivated the perfect Jinchuriki. Iwakage village was the last, but the successive Jinchuriki were very loyal to the village, made numerous meritorious deeds, and also gradually perfected their own sealing techniques. Compare it. Only Konoha Hidden Village has the strongest 9 tails, but it makes no progress and does not produce any value. It relies entirely on the Uzumaki clan's capital to suppress the tailed beasts, waiting for the Uzumaki clan to be accidentally wiped out. No matter how big Konoha is, there is no one who can teach Naruto how to control tailed beasts. It was only through Naruto's own struggle that he was able to truly utilize the power of 9 tails. Before this, 9 tails has never brought any help to Konoha, but has harmed Konoha time and time again. Everyone is making progress, and they are all taking advantage of the tailed beast. Is it unreasonable to beat you after I surpass you? If Konoha had given Uncle Snake 1 or 2 tailed beasts to study as much as he wanted, he would probably be able to drive an army of mechanical tailed beasts to sweep across the Dirty Soil army in the 4th battle. Then what kind of ninja alliance is needed? Sir, Tobirama, what do you mean? Hashirama touched his head, completely unable to understand the meaning of technological progress. Tobirama looked at Xia You and said with sincere gratitude, "Thank you, sir, for reminding me. I was careless. I will pay attention to this." Tobirama secretly decided that after returning to the village, he must change his research and use of 9 tails. We can't just wait for the other villages to slowly surpass Konoha. Although the capital he and his eldest brother left to the village was substantial, it still couldn't stop future generations from making progress and standing still. Of course, Tobirama wasn't too worried. Uzumaki clan, plus Uchiha clan, are his most abundant confidants. As long as these two families are around, it will be difficult for any tailed beast to overthrow Konoha. Xia You guessed what Tobirama was thinking and didn't bother to persuade him. Later, I will take Tobirama from world number 2 to see the Konoha of the future. Seeing that the Uzumaki clan and the Uchiha clan were all wiped out by Konoha F4, he would know that he was anxious. By the way, sir, what is the optimal solution you mentioned before? Tobirama asked proactively. Putting aside Xia You's mysterious ability, his precise analysis of the tailed beast deterrence system made Tobirama agree with him, as if he had met a close friend. Naturally, I hope to know more about Xia You's opinions. It's very simple. There is no need to divide the tailed beasts, just unify the ninja world and eliminate all ninja villages and countries. Xia You had a hard time revealing his true purpose. The previous analysis of so many shortcomings of the tailed beast deterrence system was just to encourage them to give up their ideals and devote themselves to the great cause of unifying the ninja world. Of course, Xia You didn't expect to convince Hashirama in just 10 minutes, but he could just throw out a seed first and then slowly induce him. It's impossible to come up and just press your head and let Hashirama and the others go and unify the ninja world. Don't say that you haven't mastered the power of reincarnation yet. Even if you master it all, you still can't guarantee that you can defeat Hashirama. This is inappropriate. It took a lot of effort to end the Warring States period. If a unification war were launched, how many people would die? Hashirama immediately rejected it. He really didn't want to see more wars and more sacrifices. Brother is right. And no one can guarantee whether there will be another split even after reunification. Tobirama also quickly added, but there was a glimmer of light deep in his eyes. From the bottom of his heart, he has wanted to do this for a long time. It's a pity that my eldest brother has never allowed it. Once his eldest brother leaves, it will be difficult for him to conquer the entire ninja world on his own. Originally, he had some concerns about unifying the ninja world. He was really afraid of splitting after unification. But now, after experiencing the first ninja war, Tobirama is also convinced that the previous peace system of the ninja village is a waste of paper. It's all bullshit. It is impossible for those beasts in other villages to understand and tolerate each other with love like Big Brother. I gradually abandoned this path in my heart. Xia You glanced at Tobirama. Yes, that's the look. I know you are very ambitious. Well done, I like it. Sure enough, the idea of unifying the ninja world is still the easiest to convince this second Hokage. Don't be excited. I'm just making a suggestion. I'm not forcing you to unify the ninja world. If you can think of finding a more suitable path, of course I wouldn't mind practicing it, but you must be mentally prepared for the cost. Hashirama and Tobirama were silent. After witnessing and experiencing the first ninja war with their own eyes, both of them felt an unspeakable sadness in their hearts. Even people with strong beliefs will inevitably fall into self-doubt and seeking verification after witnessing the facts. The key is that they really can't think of any better way to replace the tailed beast deterrence system. Senju Hashirama, how are you? Can you answer the previous question now? Is it the village you want to protect? Or your relatives? This. Hashirama looked at Tobirama and hesitated again. He founded Konoha village initially to protect Tobirama, Madara, and those he cherished. But now, my future self in this world has killed her best friend Madara for the sake of the village. Isn't this the greatest betrayal? Has your future self really changed? Violated your original intention? What exactly do you want to protect? Looking at Zhu Jian, who was slightly confused, Xia You was also quite satisfied. The will of the god of ninja is not easy to change. First use a sledgehammer to gently break the steel seal of his thoughts, and then encourage him to change everything and unify the ninja world. This is undoubtedly the safest method. You haven't come to a conclusion yet? There's no rush to answer. Let me ask you 2 more questions. Senju Hashirama, what is the will of fire that you want to inherit? Senju Tobirama, is it true that you chose to risk your life to stay and end the queen? Hashirama, the will of fire? Tobirama, Is it wrong to risk one's own life to stay and die? Isn't this unreasonable? No rush, let's go to the future first to see the story of the next Hokage. It's not too late for you to answer. Episode 10, Nine Tails Rebellion. Time and Space. 4th Hokage. Time. Konoha 51st year, October 10th. Unified Progress. 22%. 4th Hokage Namake's Minato's home, Sarutobi Hiruzen and his wife Bawako came to visit. Kushina, as I am about to give birth, there are some things I must tell you clearly. The seal will be weakened when Jinchuriki gives birth. The former Midasama almost broke the 9-tail seal. So for safety reasons, I have to force you to give birth in a barrier a little far away from the village. I'm very sorry. Kushina frowned slightly, a little worried. Minato beside him immediately comforted him. It's about the seal, and I will be by your side during delivery. Kushina smiled slightly, feeling reassured. Minato, Umbu's doji, and my wife Bawako will be accompanying us, and everything will be done in secret. At the same time, my immediate subordinate Umbu will also be responsible for the security outside the barriers to strengthen the defense. Sarutobi's solemn tone made Kushina worry again. Don't worry, I will go there in advance to prepare. Minato held his wife's hand and comforted her gently. Kushina blushed slightly, trusting her husband more than anyone else. I even completely ignored Lake Biwa on the side. I'll be responsible for taking you there. Kushina? Yes. Thank you very much. Soon, Bawako led Kushina towards the outside of the village. On the way, Kushina suddenly became interested when she saw her best friend Uchiha Makoto walking with a baby in her arms. So cute. Is it a girl? It's a boy. What's your name? Sasuke. Bawako, who had always had a serious expression, also came up and said with a rare smile, same as third generation's father's name. I didn't expect that Fugaku would give his son this name. He was very respectful. Yes, I hope he can grow up to be an excellent ninja. Uchiha Makoto rocked the child and said dotingly, Kushina, are you about to give birth? Have you decided on a name? Already picked up, call me Naruto. Will you become classmates with Sasuke in the future? You two must get along well. Kushina touched the young Sasuke and couldn't help but think about the future of the two children. By the way, childbirth will be really painful, right? Uchiha Makoto teased. Haha, Kushina is also afraid of something? What a surprise. The two wanted to chat for a while, but were hurriedly pulled away by Lake Biwa. It's time to go, Kushina. No one noticed. The two Kushinas had just left Konoha when a figure followed them quietly. A few hours later, several kilometers away from Konoha village, inside a secret sealed barrier. It hurts. Kushina's harsh cry of pain came from it. Well, this is the first time I've seen Kushina shout in such pain. Minato said in a panic while maintaining the seal. This fourth Hokage, who fought through the entire Third Ninja World War and conquered all the ninja villages with his own fame, was as helpless as a child when he saw his wife's pain in childbirth. The so-called care leads to chaos, nothing more than that. It's okay, just protect the nine-tail seal. But, as the fourth Hokage, don't be so flustered. Women are very powerful, don't be distracted. As the labor continued, Nine-Tails' seal became looser. Minato had to spend a lot of chakra to maintain the stability of the seal and further suppress Nine-Tails. So powerful, Nine-Tails is still struggling. Come on, Kushina. Come on, Naruto. Finally, a loud baby cry sounded. Wow, the labor finally ended successfully and Naruto was successfully born. Hoo-ho, Kushina panted violently and slowly let go of her hands. Give birth. Ha ha ha. From today on, I will be a father. Minato cried with joy and couldn't help wiping his tears. He is a very energetic boy. Come and meet your mother. Bawako's expression also softened a lot, and she came to Kushina's side with Naruto in her arms. Naruto, I finally see you. Kushina was very weak, but she was also full of joy and relief after seeing Naruto, with a halo of maternal love in her eyes. Okay, you should relax a bit. Baiwaho picked up the child and prepared to clean the child. Minato also quickly came to Kushina's side, held her palm, and asked concernedly, Are you okay? Watergate. Kushina. The two looked at each other, filled with strong love. It was as if they were in true love and Naruto was just an accident. Okay. Although it's very hard for you just after giving birth, I have to make Nine-Tails completely honest. Minato clapped his hands together and got excited. Prepared to completely close the 8-sign seal and lock the Nine-Tails. But that's it. A scream sounded. Minato followed the sound and realized that someone had attacked the Lake Biwa duo and taken away the baby Naruto. Lord Bawako. Tianji. A man in black with a tiger-striped mask grabbed Naruto and threatened, Fourth Hokage Minato, get away from Jinchuriki. Otherwise, this child only has 1 minute to live. Can actually pass through the most advanced barriers here. What on earth is this guy? Minato was as solemn as ever, with his wife on one side and his newborn son on the other. The other party actually threatened me with the baby. It's really disgusting. Without much nonsense, the attacker, Obito, immediately threw Naruto up and deliberately stabbed him with a kunai, forcing Minato to leave Kushina. The latter had no time to hesitate, so he could only activate the teleportation technique and save Naruto instantly. But who would have expected that the despicable Obito also posted several detonating charms on the baby's swaddling clothes, which were quickly triggered. According to the power of these detonating charms, if they exploded in the barrier's secret room, even Kushina would be affected. Minato had no choice but to activate the Flying Thunder God technique, teleport away with Naruto, duck into an unused wooden house outside the village, and tear off the swaddling clothes. Before the explosion, he rushed out with Naruto in his arms. The explosion destroyed the entire wooden house, and the flying sawdust also stabbed Minato's ankle, but fortunately it did not hurt Naruto. Minato did not dare to hesitate and took Naruto back to his home in the village. After placing it, rushed to rescue Kushina immediately. But while the water gate was being opened, Obito had already transferred Kushina and released the sealed Nine Tails from her body. When Minato teleported back, he managed to rescue Kushina from Nine Tails. And Nine Tails has been dominated by Obito's 3 Magatama Sharingan and turned into a killing machine. Naruto, is he okay? Well, Naruto is fine. He is in a safe place. Very good. Minato, you have to stop that man and Nine Tails quickly. They are planning to destroy Konoha. Whoosh! Minato didn't care to stop Obito and immediately teleported back home with Kushina, placing her gently next to Naruto. Leave it to me. You stay here with Naruto. Looking at Naruto sleeping soundly on the bed, Kushina touched Naruto's little head and tried to get closer. Naruto. Extreme weakness and grievance suddenly surged into his heart, and this Uzumaki tribesman with a strong personality burst into tears. She was not crying for herself, but for the newborn Naruto who was about to lose his mother and was sad. Seeing his wife and children in this state, Minato felt even more heartbroken, his eyes were gloomy, and he clenched his fists, feeling unprecedentedly angry. Minato opened the closet and put on the handsome Hokage robe. Minato, thank you. Be careful on the road. I'll be right back, wait for me. Minato groaned and left instantly.